excellent opening move. We played this
opening lines for the Bishop and the
many,
Queen.
many times. 10-year-old Alice Lee. Let's see a photo.
Hello, welcome to Discussing Fitchburg Now. I'm your host, Sam Squailia. You're watching this on Fitchburg Access Television from the Workers Credit Union studios here at FATV. This week's show, we're talking about all the opportunities that you can be afforded from a technical high school education, from the trades. You don't have to go to college for a career in the building trades. We're going to talk about the benefits of working in the trades as potential career paths, particularly for young people, for those in middle school and high school as a career path. And we're going to highlight trade schools as a viable route for young people leaving high schools to set themselves up for a career path right out of high school, or sometimes even within high school. I have Joshua Page of multiple electrical companies fame, and you are a father, a business owner, an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Yes, and
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. This is great.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your experience with the trades, and then we'll talk a little bit about your experience, you know, as an electrical contractor and entrepreneur, and what you'd like to see from our technical high school, and what you'd like to tell our kids, what the opportunities are.
Absolutely. So when I was 13 years old, I was sleeping on the top bunk of my half-brother's bed, and early in the morning, my father, all 6'2" of them, came in, shook me awake, and said, "Josh, wake up. Your mom died this morning." Oh, God. So my mom died of a brain tumor, a cancerous brain tumor, when I was 13 years old. And I only lived with my father every other weekend since I was like 2. And so I was in a new place, really, and me and my stepmother never really got along. And I stayed there for a few months until I just couldn't have it anymore, right? So I actually ran away. I got my mountain bike ready that night. I snuck out through the basement door. I got my mountain bike. I put it over the chain link fence, climbed over the chain link fence, and I rode my mountain bike all the way to my girlfriend's house in Winchendon, which was like 20 minutes away. When I got to her house, I picked up some pebbles off the ground. I threw it up at her window, and all of a sudden her window light went on. And then the front porch light went on. And I was like, all right, good, we're almost in there. And then her front door opened and her mom stepped out. And I was like, busted, you know? So I said, I can't go back and live with my dad. I'll, have my aunt come pick me up. So my aunt came and picked me up. She brought me to the school the next morning. And unfortunately, I had to go back and live with my dad. So in all of this, with my mom's sickness, with cancer and dying and moving in with my father, I was a C&D student. I really didn't like school. I knew I wasn't going to go to college. But I kept hearing about this school that you only had to go to academics 2 weeks out of the month. The other 2 weeks were in a trade. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to go there. Sign me up. How do I get in there? So growing up, I always liked the animatronics and the makeup in the movies. So I was like, I'm going to go into cosmetology. That's what I'll go into.
Oh, to be like a movie set
artist. Exactly. So when I got into Monty Tech and I figured out what cosmetology was really about, and I said, I can't picture myself doing French tips, French braids, and manicures the rest of my life. So I said, okay, cosmetology's out. I failed out of plumbing, so they wouldn't even accept me. I didn't even have good grades to go into plumbing. And I had a lot of friends that were in electrical. And I was like, okay, I'll go do that. High school wasn't easy. I was suspended every single year except for my senior year.
You went to Monty Tech for high school?
Monty Tech, yep, right in Fitchburg. I was suspended every year except for senior year. In sophomore year, I had summer school for electrical related, so I actually failed it. And junior year, I ran away again. I didn't go back. I ended up living with my aunt, but this time I drove a car, so I didn't have my mountain bike anymore. I just didn't come home one day. And I finished out my high school career at my aunt's house. And it wasn't until senior year that I was like, wow, I really need to smarten up, because I didn't have a mom. Me and my dad weren't talking. I was living in the breezeway of my aunt's house. I was like, I really need to smarten up. So senior year, I really did. I went out on co-op the last, I think, month of my senior year, and I went and worked for a big electrical company. And I worked there for about 8 years before starting my own business. But the trades is what I believe really saved my life, because I could have gone a lot of different routes at that age, where losing my mom, my dad, all that stuff. And I found a sense of pride in working with my hands and building things. And I think that's what intrigued me so much about doing electrical work, because it's almost instant gratification. You know, you run wires, you install a switch, you install a light, and all of a sudden that light comes on. Like, there's no second guessing if you did it right. The light's on. You know, and the same thing with plumbing. If you install, you know, pipes and the sink and turn the water on and the water comes out, it's instant gratification. So it was just so nice to almost feel proud of doing something. And to me, it really saved my life with getting into the trades.
Due to a tough home life, you'd say, would you say that had a lot to do with it, or
Yeah,
are you just naturally inclined to trades, or, you know, how would you say that other kids kind of find their way?
So I think for me, and what I've seen as a business owner and who I've hired over the years, I think the best kids are the ones almost like me. I was a C&D student. I didn't really like school. I was always the kid in class questioning, like, you know, is learning geometry or learning this part of trigonometry going to help me in electrical? Because if it's not, I'm going to shut it off. Like, Fahrenheit 451 in English class at Monty Tech has done nothing for me except for remember that book throughout my whole life, but it's done nothing for my career. So I was always the one questioning everything. And I feel like the kids growing up that are into fixing dirt bikes or climbing trees or just doing things around the house, just, you know, and they don't really seem to fit in. It's always, you know, again, bad grades or maybe getting into trouble or whatever. Those seems to be the best kids, male and female, that are doing really, really well in the trades.
There are some people are wired very different. And, you know, there are some people that question everything from a very concrete way. Like, yeah. Okay, how do these two magnets work? Yeah. How does this whole circuit, how does that work? You know, and then they question it, and yeah. that's a real hands-on kind of thing. Yeah. And then yeah. Other people have, you know, like scientific or minds, or maybe engineering minds, and, you know, calculating things. So, you know, not everybody is necessarily tailored to an education in college. Oh, that sort of regimented. You go to class, you sit in the chair, you listen to the teacher, you do a homework. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. that's not for everyone.
No, absolutely not. I fully agree. I mean, college has, I think, its certain place. Obviously, we need doctors and lawyers, and you need the higher education, obviously. But for me, it doesn't seem like trades is ever an option for anyone. You know, it's either you go to trade school,
and you're going to college after trade school.
Or that's it. You know, it doesn't even, you know, I interviewed actually a 37-year-old man today that was in mortgages for the last 10 years and was like, you know what? I'm really tired of sitting in a cubicle. I want to be an electrician. You know, and he took a year off. He went to Porter and Chester to, I think they just do them during the day, to become an apprentice and learn about the electrical trade and get his theory hours in and all that stuff. And now he wants to work as an electrician. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. At 37 years old, that's what you want to do? Awesome. You know?
And, you know, the thing about the trade schools and the technical education, it's not an easy job. It's not something that you just do and, oh, this will be easy. Mm-hmm. It still takes a lot of learning and a lot of focus and attention. It's just a kind of different learning.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all hands-on. So to become a licensed electrician, you need 8,000 work hours, which is about 2,000 work hours a year, so about 4 years, and you need 600 theory hours, right? So Monty Tech offers night classes. They're 150 hours a year, so in about 4 years, you have your theory hours and you have your work hours.
And that's for a journeyman
to become a journeyman, yep. And that's all you need. You don't need any more than a journeyman. If you wanted to own your own electrical business and hire other journeymans, then you could get your master electrician's license, but you don't need it. I, as a business owner, have my master electrician's license, but you don't need it in order to work in Massachusetts. You know, but it just always seems like everyone's pushing college. If you don't know what to do with your life, go take some night courses. Go to college. Oh, you don't fit in here. Go to college. Or you can't stay in my basement anymore. Go to college. And it's like, college isn't for everyone.
I don't know what to go to college for. Just go and you'll figure out what you want to do.
Exactly.
And while you're going to college, no colleges are free. So you're racking up student loan debt.
Absolutely.
And our student loan debts, the interest rates are not low on student loan debt either.
Absolutely. I know nothing about student loan debt because in the trades we don't have it. It just really doesn't happen. But based on 2021 statistics, student loan debt is $1.3 trillion right now, with a T, trillion. I mean, it's just incredible. There's no reason for that. And I was actually reading in the Worcester Business Journal, what, 2 weeks ago, that a lot of the local colleges were getting really worried because they are starting to see a trend that people coming out of high school are choosing a little bit not to go to college because they don't want to pay all this money to sit on Zoom. So that's happened over the last 2 years. Not saying that they're jumping towards the trades because everyone's still pushing to college, but I'm like, oh, maybe the tides are starting to change. Maybe people are starting to see it a little bit.
Yeah, and the 2 years or however long the pandemic was, I try not to think about it. But a lot of these colleges, they switched to online learning, but they didn't reduce their fees.
No, exactly. And as an apprentice, so you still need to go to school, right? So Monty Tech charges whatever they charge, or all these other higher education schools that offer the tech schools for electrical or plumbing to get your license. Most companies, including mine, if you pay for the schooling at the end of the year, if you've got a passing grade and you stay with the company, we reimburse you fully for it, everything. So at the end of your 4 years, you have your electrical license and you have no debt. There's nothing. You didn't pay any money for it.
And that's very common with the trades.
Extremely common.
Because there's not enough workers for nearly any trade that we have. I mean, you own a home. You try to call, a plumber or an electrician because you need a couple of things done, forget about it.
Absolutely.
Everyone's way too busy. There's not enough people.
It's almost like getting your physical now at the doctors. 9 months, we'll come out and change a plug.
Oh, yeah, 9 months. It's true.
I've been speaking to high schools on career days and career fairs for over 5 years now. The pandemic has definitely not made it better. But this has been going on for at least the last 5 years. And there was a study done then in the state of Massachusetts. There was 32,000 licensed electricians, and 25,000 of them were over the age of 52. 52! So I said to myself back then, what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years when these guys want to retire? Okay. So then we cut that all out.
They're going to be working until they're 70. They're going to be working
but
until they're 75.
But if no one's replacing them,
that's right.
So I started thinking.
So we need the recruitment.
Exactly. I started thinking, why is no one coming into these trades? And I think we've got a few stigmas. I think we tradespeople, not just tradesmen anymore, but tradespeople, because there's a lot of female in the trades. I think we still have that stigma of we're dirty. We have.
Oh, you weren't smart enough to go to college.
Exactly. We've got ripped pants, or they're stained, or we have calluses on our hands, or dirt underneath our fingernails. And I think a lot of the younger generations are like, "Ooh, I don't want to do that.
Oh, I don't like to be outside in the cold.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay inside and play video games."
Exactly. And I think a lot has to do also on the parents. Because if the parents were told by their parents that they need to go to a 4-year college in order to make it in life, whether they went to college or not, they're still going to say that to their children. Hey, you know what? You got to go to college. You're never going to make it, whatever it is. Well, the national average for a licensed electrician is about $55,000 to $60,000 a year. The average for an electrician in Massachusetts is even higher, even closer to Boston. It's almost 6 figures right now. These electricians and plumbers are making really, really good money.
And a lot of the times, you're not just working 40 hours a week because everyone's so busy. The contractors that have employees, have a lot of jobs,
Absolutely.
and you have a lot of opportunity for overtime.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's just amazing, and really, you know, any industry right now is hurting for workers. I mean, we had this huge mass exodus over the last 2 years, but like I said, in the trades, it just seems like I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the lines, we missed the boat of recruiting more in. You know, and like I said, I think I have a personal opinion. It's the stigma of, you know, the dirty trades, because dental hygienist and cosmetology is a trade as well. That's a skilled trade, but it's more white collar. It's cleaner. You know, it's not the dirty trades. And I think a lot of people got pushed off, and then I think the parents as well. So to recruit, I think we really need to start with the young generations.
Like the middle school.
Yep. And I think we need to start talking to these parents again and saying, you know, this is not old school electrical trades or welders or carpenters or plumbers. Like, this is new age. We're not sitting here dirty and gross and smelly and all that stuff. We're working.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. but we're working in, you know, I mean, big commercial buildings and schools, on houses, stuff that you can drive by and say, you know what? I wired that house, or I plumbed that building, or I welded those stairs in that school.
Yeah, or there's this cool new manufacturing, you know, where they're making healthcare items for knee joints, and you need to wire the machine, and I wired this whole machine, and it took me a week to get all the things that are correct, and it's cool.
Absolutely.
And you feel accomplished, and you get paid very well to do this.
Very well. There's a huge sense of pride. And I really don't care what happens in this world with autonomy and robots. There's certain things in the trades that you cannot replicate. There is no robot that is ever going to plumb a house or troubleshoot a faucet that's leaking, or in the electrical world, anything like that. There just isn't. You know, I mean, we've already seen, you know, certain tools could cut hair, right? But somebody has to be operating that, you know. But you know, welders, a little bit. Could they do 3D printing on houses? Absolutely. Do I think that's going to get to that point? Sure. But are they going to do it on a commercial building or a school? Not a chance. I don't feel like they will.
But also, if you're involved in that industry, then you're involved in the new technologies.
You could too. Absolutely. I just don't think there's ever going to be a time where we don't need an electrician or we don't need a plumber. You know, when you work with your hands, my father growing up always said, Josh, you'll always have a job if you work with your hands. And I always followed that. I said, you know, he's absolutely correct. You know, whether it was cutting hair or doing nails or a welder or any of those trades. But then I started thinking, you know, you'll always have a job if you work with your hands, but you're never going to make any money if you don't use your brain. And I think that goes across the board for anything. And just saying that has helped me out tremendously in growing the business, in becoming an entrepreneur and helping others out. The better we do as a company, the better the community does, because the more I'm able to give back, the more I'm able to do fun stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know?
And you own 3 electrical companies, that's correct?
3 electrical companies. So I started JP Electric & Son with me, myself, and a beat-up old Comcast van from New Bedford in 2011. And in 2015, I purchased Rural Electric, which Rural Electric was started in Fitchburg by Roland Rule in 1954. And then 2 years later, I wasn't looking for it, but a company out in Concord, Massachusetts asked if I wanted to purchase his company, and I did. So now we own JP Electric & Son, Rural Electric, and Patriot Electrical Contracting and Service out of Concord, Mass. So we handle a big swath of Massachusetts.
So do you do like you have a residential division and a commercial division, or how do you break up the companies?
We do a little bit of everything. So, and that's what I love about my company is that you're never going to be bored. You know, Monday you could be wiring an in-ground pool in Concord or Ashburnham or whatever, and then Tuesday you're doing a generator, and then on Wednesday you're working at Great Wolf Lodge, and then Thursday you're doing something else. You know, it's not the same task over and over and over, where in the big company when I first apprenticed, that's what I would do. I would install 200 light fixtures in a school, and then when I was done the 200, I'd get sent to another school. And then I would start another 150 lights. And it was like, oh my God, you almost became a mechanic. You lost the electrician. You know, it was like, I didn't know how to troubleshoot. I didn't know how to service anything. Like, you would just do the same task over and over.
Which is good to start.
Absolutely.
You know, because people that's another thing I feel like, young people today, maybe instant gratification. You know, you've got to start off doing monotonous tasks in every job, in every trade.
Absolutely.
And you got to learn, and you have to build trust, and you have to learn how to get to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask the questions, take down the notes, help where you can. I was always the kid, you know, even as a third-year apprentice, I was 19, 20 years old, third-year apprentice, and I was taking the plans home with the colored pencils and drawing, you know, how we're going to run our pipes and wires, and I'd bring it back to the foreman the next day. And, you know, I was always just, I was putting out there way more than I was getting paid for, but I didn't care because I wanted to be part of it.
That's how you
I
learn.
wanted to be in it, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
And so you just mentioned, so 19 years old, and you're a third-year apprentice. Whereas, you know, you graduate high school at 18. If you were to start then, you'd only have been a first-year apprentice.
Yeah.
And you'd be paying for your school.
Absolutely.
Instead of having that opportunity for a publicly funded technical education like we have locally at Monty Tech and at Leominster CTEI.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Monty Tech, you know, I mean, I can't say enough good things about them. That's where everything started. You know, that's where everything, you know, if I didn't make that decision, maybe I'd be doing nails right now. I don't know.
and it's funny because you're like, I was going to do plumbing, but I failed out of that. So my friends were in electrical. All right, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll go there. We'll have fun.
Isn't it amazing how our paths small things can change our paths in life so quickly?
It's so funny because I was the kid that I was literally always getting in trouble in that shop. And now when I think about our graduating class, we actually had quite a bit. It was, I think, 13 of us in there. Maybe 8 of us are licensed. I think 2 of us ended up as business owners. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'd say out of those 2, probably the most successful. But you would have never thought that back then, ever.
Like, oh, this guy, I don't know.
Never. And you can ask all those teachers. Never.
So now you're involved, you know, with like Monty Tech, with the trade schools. You said for 5 years you've been investing yourself there.
Yeah.
Have you seen a change from when you went to Monty Tech versus today? You know, what's different in the trade opportunities, or in the students, or maybe in the learning curriculum?
I think in general, I think we're starting to lose some sorts of the electrical. There's a lot of like piping and stuff that's not being used that I learned a lot back then. I'm on the advisory board committee for electrical there, and I was surprised that some of the rigid piping that we would do is not even part of their curriculum anymore because not a lot of people are doing it.
Like MC or the...
MC is still, rigid is a hard threaded pipe, almost like a plumber's pipe. It's more used in industrial facilities.
And they're not teaching that so much?
Not really, because we're not using it out in the trade as much anymore, you know, so that was kind of different. I think in terms what's changed, probably more on the electronic than factory side, the factory wiring. You know, there's a lot more PLCs, a lot more computer programming, which is know nothing about, you know, and a lot of those kids graduating from Monty Tech are going to know all of that if they really wanted to program and do the PLCs and work in the factories.
And PLC, program logic controller?
Yeah, something like that, I think so. So that's different. As far as the school itself and the kids, it seems like everyone wants to go to Monty Tech right now, or into the trade schools, which is great. It's fantastic. I love it. I'm just curious to see how many are graduating going into their trade, you know, and I can't find those statistics anywhere.
Those statistics do exist, and it is a little troubling. You know, I am a huge supporter of technical high school education, huge supporter of Monty Tech, Leominster CTEI. However, it does feel like it's become a kind of almost like a glorified publicly funded prep school, where you're going there, you're going to pick a trade, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be, you know, you could do a co-op, and you're going to go to college and do whatever you're going to do anyway, because you're an elite student. And this will be great on your resume.
Yep.
You know, whereas some of the kids that have trouble in school, have trouble at home. Maybe they can't pay attention. Maybe, you know, there's trouble at home, and so they're having their outbursts.
Yeah.
And maybe they're absent a lot, and that all reflects in their eligibility
Absolutely.
to, you know, to attend trade school.
Yeah, and I think, to me, that bothers me a little bit, because I think we're missing the mark where those kids are now going to fall off. You know, if they were never destined to college, they're not doing well in high school, maybe the trades, becoming a welder or a carpenter or a plumber would have been fantastic for them. They're never going to get that push. You know, they're never going to get that opportunity. And even if somebody found them, you know, at 19, 20 years old and was like, hey, what are you doing with your life? You know, why don't you be a plumber? There's not, I don't know, there's not enough guidance at that point. You know, I feel like we should have grabbed them a lot younger. The kids that are, you know, straight A students and, you know, never got in trouble, you know, always at school, all that stuff, those are the ones that are ending up in Monty Tech, and it's like, that's great.
It's
but
awesome.
But are you really going to be a plumber, or are you just gonna go to college afterwards anyways, which is fine too. But to me, you took up a spot where someone else really could have needed that, and maybe they would have been the best plumber, but we don't know.
And it brings up a whole more conversation of maybe we need more funding for more technical education in all high schools.
Could be. It could be. Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's, before we close,
Sure.
let's talk about your book. Can we pull up the front cover, the electrical, that one? Yes, can we pull that one up on the main screen? So Joshua wrote a book, Electrical Inspection Secrets. And this is an ebook
Yes,
that you
it
can
is an
download
ebook.
and print yourself?
Yep, you can find it right on any of our websites. Yep.
Yep.
So I wrote this during COVID, during our 2 weeks that I took off because Governor Baker wanted all businesses to close. We're essential, so we didn't have to, but I did it anyways. And in those 2 weeks, I needed to do something. So I was like, I'm going to create a book based on what I repeat every single time I'm at an estimate or a customer's home, and teach them about knob and tube wiring, teach them about old BX wiring, about Romex, and just so that way they would have it at their disposal. And there's a bunch of electrical inspection secrets in there that nobody will tell you about, but we can go through. I think we got a few minutes here. So one of the things that we get a lot of service calls on is GFI outlets, which is they're in the bathrooms and the kitchens.
And the little reset button.
Exactly. So there'll be parts of the home that won't have power. We get called out. We have to charge them a service call fee. We get out there and we literally press the reset button. You know, and it's like, if they just would have looked around to see if there's any reset buttons that need to be pushed, you'd save yourself a couple $100s. Most of the time, those are going to be in basements, in kitchens, bathrooms, garages, and even outside the house.
Anywhere where it could be wet.
Exactly. I've seen living rooms that are wired off of a GFI outlet outside. Ooh. So you just never know. Another thing that we get called on a lot is a lot of new homeowners who go into houses and they don't know what switches go to what. And we get called out, we do some research and we find out what it is, but literally all we're doing is we're taking a table lamp or we're taking a radio and we're plugging into outlets and just using the switch to find it. So that will save them a ton of time as well.
And quite often in older homes, there's a switch that powers one half of a duplex outlet.
Exactly.
And so that's what the switch is for. For before, I guess before there was overhead lighting.
Yeah. So you'll have half the outlet that will be live at all times, and then the other half will be off of the switch. And seems to be like nobody can ever find what ones those are. And all it takes is a radio or a table lamp. Save yourself a couple $100s, and we don't have to go out there to take a look. You know?
And the book is full. It's chock full of little tips and tricks.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's an easy read.
Yeah.
It's not written like you have to be a college professor to understand it.
No,
it's written in very relaxed language, very easy to read, and there's lots of images.
Yes, absolutely. I tried to do my best. I tried to get it to like a 4th grade reading level, and I didn't want to charge for it. I just wanted to give it out to the public and just help in any way that I can possible, and give those tips and tricks, and hopefully we save some money and educate as much as I can before I even get there, because there's a lot of, especially now, it seems like everyone buying a house doesn't even get a home inspection anymore. You know, they're bypassing the home inspection 100%.
So that they can get the house, because they're going 50,000 over asking.
Exactly.
They're not doing the home inspection.
Yeah. So download the book. You can get it right on the websites. Download it, and hopefully it helps them out a ton.
That's a good idea. All right, Joshua, thank you so much for chatting with us about the importance of the building trades and about your life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. So, and thank you for watching. We're going to take a short break, and then we are going to continue our discussion on the importance of the building trades with Michael Rannikko and Mark Lyons.
I remember when
Fitchburg was the smallest town in the area, but by 1835, it had grown to be the largest town. By 1840 and 50, most Fitchburg residents had become abolitionists. Another early industry in Fitchburg that still continues today is scythe making. Women used to have to spin yarn and weave cloth themselves, but now it was being made in factories, cutting down and exporting its wood to build cities up and down the East Coast, and of course, for making paper. Starting in the 1800s, the population becomes much more diverse. Fitchburg Machine Works expanded widely.
after World War II, Main Street was lively.
Welcome back to Discussing Fitchburg Now. We are talking about the opportunities and the benefits of a technical high school education and a trade education even beyond high school. I have Michael Rannikko. You are a longtime, recently retired teacher of the technical high school at Leominster CTEI.
And you're one of my students.
And I was your first student, one of your first students. And Mark Lyons, you're involved in technical education in the sales of equipment that's related to technical education.
I am today, but I did 15 years in the classroom, just like Michael.
Oh, what did you teach?
That's how we met. CAD.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I almost hired him, but I knew better.
That's how we met.
And so, you know, I took drafting as a trade at Leominster Center for Technical Education, which is now Center for Technical Education and Innovation.
Yeah. Innovation part.
So we're all CAD people.
That's right.
Yeah,
AutoCAD.
Yeah, AutoCAD, yes. Yeah, so thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I pulled up a number of slides from our local technical high schools. We have Monty Tech and we have Leominster CTEI. That's really the closest ones to us. And I just pulled up a bunch of slides of all the vocational offerings that are available to high school students. And so maybe we can just talk about some of the opportunities that we have currently, and maybe we can talk about what, innovations that we have in technology that will allow us to learn more and get kids more engaged into the future.
Sure. There's a lot of programs. There's a lot of, most vocational technical schools have approximately 18 to 20 programs.
Yeah.
That's a lot. There's a lot of different offerings for students.
We have 14 at our school.
14 at Leominster CTEI?
Right.
Yeah.
The newest one is business. There'll be 14 next year.
Business technology.
Brand new coming in to our school in Leominster. And, they have the opportunities for co-op. We're looking for work. I don't know where you want to go with this, but the Leominster Trade High School has all the different opportunities for co-op and college.
Yep.
And the technology that we're getting, where Mark comes in, we have a 3D printer and a 3D scanner, And the technology that his company sells to our schools gives all the students the latest and greatest technology.
Yeah, which is what they're using in the industry. So when you graduate high school, you are ready to go. And even before then, with co-op education. You know, Joshua had mentioned it before. One reason he wanted to go to trade school was that he would be able to work for 2 weeks and go to school for 2 weeks, or a week on, a week off, whatever, or half a day, however it is that they structure it.
We call it AB week.
AB week, yes. I think that's how I did it when I was, what, junior and senior?
1 week academics, 1 week all vacation.
Yep.
Shop.
So I was able to work at a job my sophomore and senior year. Can you pull
And
this
make money.
Yeah, and make money. Can we pull this up on the main screen? This is a graph showing the increase in participation in co-op education at, I think this is Monty Tech. Can we pull? Yeah, there we go. So you can see, you know, just September, October, December. See just how many more students are participating, and you can see in the peak in 2017, 2018, there was 162 students participating in co-op. These are businesses that are hiring students, and you know they're probably paying minimum wage, but they're getting a student that is ready to learn, and they're kind of unmolded. Right. That's one great thing about new students is you can mold them and shape them to learn how you want.
Can't go wrong. We have 1,900, I think, students, or 1,800, and we have 700 and something. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but we have over 700 students in our trade school.
700 students at Leominster.
Yeah, it's 1,900 total.
1,900 total.
Because we have a high school and a trade school together as one family, and 700 and something shops are coming in. And now we have students coming from West Boylston, and I believe Clinton now for school choice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we have like 25 students, I think, coming from West Boylston that are supporting the one to learn trades. They come up to our schools.
Well, like Josh, it was Josh, right? Was his
Yeah.
name? Like he mentioned, these trade schools are oversubscribed, right? And a lot of these kids that can't get in, they're finding a way to find an education. Every child in Massachusetts is offered the ability to go to a trade school, right? Everywhere, doesn't matter where they live, but they're just getting
if you can
filled.
get in.
The waiting list is enormous.
The waiting list across the state of the regional vocational technical high schools is off the charts, and who knows what the solution is, you know? And I know Josh mentioned that a lot of these kids are not particularly going back into the trades when they graduate, and I see that every day.
Yes.
And good for them, but not good for the trades.
Right.
You know, I think the Chapter 74 is what these schools they run under Mass Law, Chapter 74.
Correct.
The premise was for students to go to high school and to go into work after high school. And somewhere along the line, it kind of flipped. You know, I went to Aspet Valley when I was a kid. I like you, I went to Voc School.
I went to Boys Trade.
And you know, I like Josh. I didn't want to go to college. I actually went to Assabet to go to graphic arts shop. I thought that was cool. My family had a graphic arts, you know, they had a printing press in Marlboro, and
So you're like, I can work for the family business.
that's it, right? That's what I was going to do. So then, the great thing about going to the school, it was you had to explore a bunch of different shops.
Exploratory.
To find out what you actually liked, right? And I knew what I liked. I wanted graphics. That's all I wanted. I didn't understand the need to go to the exploratory. But then when I went to drafting, I was like, this is pretty cool. I like this. And not only did it kick me into a new trade, it actually made me more of a student. I liked going to school after that, right? So my path was a little different, but you know, I ended up like Josh. I went to school. I went to work after. I went to co-op, did the whole thing. My company paid for my education. You know, I didn't go to college right after, but I did go to college. You know, and ended up becoming a teacher. But today, I think a lot of the schools, they're doing so well. They're kind of a victim of their own circumstance. You know, the success rather is the kids that are making that choice at 8th grade are looking at those Voc schools, and some of them are more well-equipped than a lot of universities. I see it every day. And their eyes light up, like, this is a great school. I'm going here.
Oh, yeah.
And they already know they're going to go on to be a lawyer, but they go on and they learn something, some kind of trade, and I think the justification is I have something to fall back on.
Something to fall back on.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
I used to say that all the time.
Well, when we were in school, we teach you how a portfolio, a resume, right? We do job interviews, and the co-op opportunity is there, but I find that a lot of students don't have transportation. And
To do co-op.
Yes, that's the number one. We have students that are available or qualified, but they cannot get out to transportation. So we always try to encourage the students to start getting your license and save up for a car, because you will be going to co-op. After third quarter junior year, students are allowed to go on co-op in Leominster.
Third quarter junior year?
Junior years.
Is that when is that always was? I feel like it was my whole junior, senior year.
Yeah.
I think what it is it depends on the time in learning. It depends on how many hours the student has in the trade. I believe that's the rule.
That's what we want.
So whatever,
So many hours.
however long it takes them to get the many hours of theory, that's the cutoff. It's like, okay, I've got 1,200 hours. Okay, you now can go to co-op. If it means halfway through the junior year, early junior year, senior year, whatever it is, then they're eligible to go out to co-op.
Because if they go all day, we're looking at like 38 hours. A shop's like a full-time day, and you're with the students, and you try to teach them. You're here every day. It's not you're going to math, English, science. No, you're in the classroom, shop, working with the instructors and working on projects.
Yeah, you are fully immersed in the trade.
And that's all you're thinking about is that trade. You're not worrying about your math, well, your academics, we'll say.
Well, I'm back just to backtrack a little bit on the exploratory portion. You know, like you mentioned, you had an idea of something that you wanted to do, but then during exploratory, it's 1 or 2 weeks that you spend in each trade.
Yeah.
About 7 days.
It changes.
7 days?
6 to 7 days.
It changes yearly.
Yeah.
When I did it, we had 6 trades that we had to explore over the course of the year.
Yeah, you only pick
right?
so many.
And we had
Right.
like 3 or
Okay.
4 weeks each trade. Now there's some schools, the students go in there for a day. They go in a day.
Yeah, well, when you have 20 different, 20 different trades, you can't spend 2 weeks
Well,
at each one, because that's
No.
a school year.
And what they're trying to do, I think, and this is just my opinion, I mean, I go to a lot of schools all the time. I think what they're trying to do is get those students into their major sooner so they can get those hours
Yeah.
built up early.
Right.
So they can get them out in co-op when they're junior and not wait till their senior year. So
But even just having that opportunity for exploratory, if you have a couple of different ideas of something you want to do, you can get immersed in it for at least a few days and touch some things and see the environment and see maybe if this might be something that you're interested. I know I went to the electrical exploratory and had to screw something in. I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Screw things with a screwdriver. And I went to welding, and we welded some candle holders.
Do you still have that?
I have the candle holder. I have that little block
one we
thing.
made?
I have that.
Yeah, we welded that
And,
together.
and I was like, I could do welding.
Yeah.
This is fun. Then I was like, wait a minute, Sam, I can't do welding. No. Comfy chairs and drafting. Yeah. But students don't necessarily have that opportunity in your standard high school education to know what they want to do in college. They often might go to a career fair, and maybe they're like, I don't know, maybe I'll just go to college and I'll figure it out there.
So you
And
teeing this up for me?
Huh?
Are you teeing this up for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so there is a way now. In Fitchburg, I give him a lot of credit.
Yep.
Jeremy Roach is the principal of Fitchburg High. He's done a great job. And Massachusetts has something called innovation pathways. And I think there's 5 different innovation pathways. I don't know them all.
At Fitchburg High?
No, available to schools,
Oh,
to
available to
comprehensive
schools.
schools.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think Fitchburg has all 5, but Jeremy, if they do, I'm sorry. I don't know if they do or not.
But Fitchburg is now a comprehensive high school.
Comprehensive high school.
That has an innovation pathways program.
They do. And I know for a fact that have an advanced manufacturing innovation pathway program. So what that does is the students will go in 9th grade and they'll sign up to become into that pathway, let's say advanced manufacturing. And their whole time in school from the 9th grade to 12th grade, their studies are focused on the advanced manufacturing, the vocabulary, the math, science, everything that you would need in manufacturing.
The computer-controlled machinery in order to
They learn all
make
that.
parts that you need for making medical devices
Right.
or whatever local industries that we have.
And so what they do is they integrate that with their academics, and through some funding from Governor Baker, the school is allowed to build almost a little mini machine shop, we'll say. There's a little mini manufacturing shop. The students get some hands-on work. And I know there's a great lab over there at Fitchburg right now, and the students are eating it up. I think, and I don't know the number for sure, but I think there's over 50 students enrolled in the advanced manufacturing program.
Is that a freshman through senior program?
Yeah, it ends with the capstone project or an internship.
Ooh.
Yep, and it's very successful, and they're doing a great job. And what's great about it is when he or she graduates from Fitchburg High, they might realize, I don't want to be in advanced manufacturing, and they don't waste their time going to college for that. They already know if they like it or not. So it's a really good head start.
Or they decide, oh, this is a great career.
Right.
I can get a job right out of high school.
They can.
And start making good money right out of high school without spending 2 to 4 years on a college degree.
Right. It isn't a vocational program. Like, okay, they don't get the hours in the classroom that the vocational schools do get. However, there's such a demand for trades right now that a lot of companies are saying, hey, you know the basics of machining? Let's bring you on board and give you an internship here and see if you can do it. And then they take it from there, or they send them, at the night school at Monty Tech and say, hey, go to the machine shop and learn a little bit more, and then you can get to trade. And that student already knows whether or not they like it. So those innovation pathways work well.
It's opening up opportunities.
Yep. Yeah, and they're all comprehensive high schools are able to apply for them. And I really think it's a great program because of the fact that those little kids, some kid who got caught smoking in the 7th grade and got suspended, and it goes on his record, and all of a sudden now he can't go to school.
He can't go to Monty Tech, but maybe he can have an opportunity at Fitchburg High School.
And there's 5 pathways. I know, like, biology is one, there's finance is one, there's medical.
Biology and medical is huge in Massachusetts.
Right.
We are #1 in the world, according to Massachusetts Life Sciences Center. We're #1 in the world for innovation in medical technology.
The one next before that, with the Mount also
And Wachusett
is
Community
affiliated
College?
with our school in Leominster, and we have like a machine shop program. Steve Mack has formed with the school and our school, both schools together, affiliated together. So hopefully we can have more night school. Or,
At Leominster?
Yes.
Oh, that would be nice.
That's where we're hoping to move forward, because we do have the space available in all these vocational schools. That's
For
how
night school.
That's how we started.
Monty Tech has a huge night school program.
That's another. That's another one of Governor Baker's initiatives. It's called CTI, right? Career Technical Institutes. And if you hear the word CTI, Career Technical Institute, what it is, it's the vocational school at night. Essex Tech has a great evening program. They call it the Nighthawk program.
Nighthawk.
It's awesome.
Which is perfectly suited for you to work during the day.
Yep.
And get your education at night. And it's a short period of your life, but you're able to work and make money while you go to school.
Right. So these voc schools, they keep the lights on after 3 o'clock, and they retrain people who want to be retrained. Students that graduated don't know what they want to do. They can go there and try something.
Mark, can you say something about the grants? Don't you say the schools opportunity looking out for money, people for
so the voc schools, especially in Massachusetts over the last 5 years, have been just flooded with money. Governor Baker has a program called Capital Skills. And the Capital Skills Grant Program allows these schools to apply for funds up to $500,000 or even more in some cases to get equipment that they need, newer equipment. So technology is changing every day. I see it.
Fitchburg High recently got a couple $100,000?
I want to say more than that.
Yeah.
I want to think. I work with so many schools, but I want to believe that Fitchburg High got 2 grants recently, and I can't speak for how much they were, but we're going to say there was close to $500,000.
Nice.
They've got some state-of-the-art 3D printers. They've got laser engravers. They've got robotic arms. They do have a great program over there. So the governor has put that money out to these schools to get new industrial equipment that the students are going to use right away when they get into industry. And, you know, $500,000 gets you a good lab.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure. And, you know, if you look on the websites of, you know, Monty Tech or Leominster High, CTEI, they have all the different shops listed, and they have a kind of description and
like that.
Yeah. Can we pull this one up on the big screen? Here's Michael Rannikko in his glory, teaching. Look at the teaching he's bestowing upon. But you see, on everyone, they have suggested career pathways that you could, you know, that you could follow through from this education.
Sure.
And a lot of these don't require any further college.
Right.
A lot of them, you know, you'd benefit from further college. And there's a couple programs like healthcare, you know, or health. There's a couple of healthcare ones that you really, it primes you to an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, but it gives you that kind of couple year head start.
Well, the one that a lot of schools are putting in, and it's started out with Project Lead the Way, is engineering, and it's pre-engineering programs that go into vocational high schools. And you know, I always scratch my head and I say, well, what career is that student going to be able to jump into when they graduate from high school? So a lot of them, unfortunately for myself as a drafting teacher, Mike as a drafting teacher, a lot of the schools actually get rid of the drafting programs
In lieu
of the engineering program.
Alphabet is closing their drafting program next year.
The school I graduated from, the program I graduated from, and the one I went back to teach at is no longer. And it's heartbreaking because drafting is actually a skilled trade that Mike is trying to hire some right now.
Yeah,
he can't find them.
My business,
right? Because those engineering programs, as good as they are, they don't give you the time in the trade of drafting to be able to produce someone who could actually create a legal document. You know, the programs are great. Those engineering programs that the schools have, what I say is that they're very horizontal, which means they have a lot of things they teach, but they don't go too deep.
Here's an engineering technology program that we have at Monty Tech. And you can see there is a whole lot of career pathways that you can take from their engineering technology. Can we put this on the big screen? Look at them all. It's very varied, and it also goes to an engineer for a 4-year college. It kind of primes you towards it.
It does. Yeah.
And you could do drafting in this, but it's not so much geared toward it, like you said. Yeah.
They don't go deep. So.
Whereas, you know, I am an architectural drafter, but in Leominster CTI, because drafting was so associated with the machine shop, we really learned everything machine drafting. And I credit my fine attention to detail. Like, we have to measure everything to the 16th because of machine drafting.
Right, yeah. You don't need to do that in architecture.
Yeah, you don't need to, but that's how I learned. And, you know, that's the great thing about molding children when they're young. You mold them how you want.
Well, look at you, see?
Yep.
It trains you well.
Oh, God.
So so we talked a lot about, you know, the opportunities, and I'll be sharing these slides on Facebook so you can see, you know, these up front and all the opportunities at our local high schools. But we talked about before the show some really cool new technologies that are coming soon to technical education programs that really just they're almost. Kids today love video games.
It's gaming.
You know,
Virtual
I mean, you know, my daughter plays video games. I mean, even adults, even 30 to 40-year-olds, they go home and they play video games. That's this generation, and that's the upcoming generation. So we have some learning opportunities that are kind of like a video game.
Well, think about when video games first started, right? It was like Pong, right? Ping, ping, right? It's just all things. It's not exciting. And then if you go today, they got the HoloLenses and they're fighting with their swords and doing all this kind of stuff.
The virtual reality.
It's like in real life.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening today in education training, especially for certain fields where, number one, the equipment might be just too expensive. And what we talked about was the crane operators and the forklift operators. They have virtual operating machines for those, and they're really, really, really cool. The big screen in front of you, it's all 3D in front of you. And you're driving it like you're driving a truck, and it's bouncing around, and you're doing everything.
If people are familiar with like flight simulators, right? So you have the wraparound TV, and you're in the chair, and you have a joystick, and you have different controls.
Yep, and you fly the plane.
And you really feel, you put the thing on, it feels like you're really flying a plane.
Yep.
And that's how the Army, you know, our armed forces, that's how they're learning how to fly planes. You know, you don't get in a plane first, you do a flight simulator. And we have things like that for heavy machinery, for welding. We have things like that for
Was it the heart one we seen?
anatomy. Here's a picture. Can we pull this up on the main screen?
That's the heavy equipment operation.
Yes. So you can sit in this chair. It moves like it's like 4D.
Yep,
You're
4D.
surrounded by, you know, the screen, so it makes you feel like you're digging in a backhoe or whatever other heavy equipment
and
things.
it actually scores you as you're doing it too. It will come out with a report on how well you did. Right, and where you need to improve. It is. It's a video game. So I was always skeptical about learning equipment like this, because if it's a game, it's a game. But there's actually curriculum that goes along with it, and there's goals that you can meet, and the results are just they speak for themselves. That companies are saving a lot of money by having students being trained in virtual.
And
if they
you can engage students in this game-like, you know, opportunity. We also have an image of like a virtual welder. That's right near this image. Can you pull that up, please, Nico?
So there you go.
Yeah.
So,
can we pull this up on the main screen? There's a couple more.
So with welding, welding is one of the fields right now that we're having a hard time filling. You know, that big wind hotel that went up near Boston, right? Encore.
Oh yeah, Encore.
They had to bring welders in from across the country because we couldn't find them locally, right? And one of the things that Josh, I think you mentioned, was, oh, it's dirty. It's a dirty trade. It's a dirty trade. And when you have a vocational technical school and you're trying to populate your shop, you have to engage them right away, right? You have to get those freshmen engaged as fast as you can, right? And it's not much fun if you go right there and the next thing you know, you got a torch in your hand and you don't know what to do with it, right? But they've got these tools now where the welding one in particular, the welder has a helmet on just like they would have a helmet. I always tell the schools they should get the leather vests and the leather gloves that the kids would use. The gun is very similar to the gun that they would use.
Can we pull this picture on the main screen? It kind of shows what they're seeing.
Right.
See, those images at the top is what you're seeing through the helmet.
Yep.
You're actually seeing yourself make a weld.
Yep. If you look at that middle one,
simulates it.
You see the brightness next to the
arc. That's the arc weld.
Yep,
the
that's
tool.
the depth of your weld.
And it's showing it's sparking.
Yeah.
Right. And the one on the right shows the result of that student's weld. But
yeah, you can see they got a score of 85%.
And it scores them the whole time.
Yeah.
It scores them in a lot of different areas too. It like the speed of the weld, the angle, the arm angle, the wrist angle.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
It is
popular too.
I would love to play with this.
Isn't it great? So think about a freshman kid coming in going, "This is a ball. I want to get in this shop."
And they start doing it. They're like, I could do this, and then you learn how much welding. You know, welders get paid starting right out of high school. You can earn, a great.
Welders are getting paid a lot of money right now.
Annual salary.
A lot of money right now.
And $20-25 an hour to start out of school probably.
Easy.
Oh, and there's a couple more before the show ends. There's a picture of a 3D human anatomy laptop.
Right,
Can we pull this up on the main screen?
Oh, yeah.
So this is one of my favorites right here.
So in lieu of having to have a body or a plastic body, kids can use this 3D technology.
It's more than 3D.
And they move
a movable 3D,
it's almost like a hologram.
Game-like technology to learn about the human body, learn about the different things, how they react. You can do
neat.
instead of actually having to cut open a real frog in biology, you can do it virtually.
Right on this device.
Which saves schools all kinds of money, and it engages students.
Well, and it keeps the students that don't want to dissect the frog, and they get to dissect the frog.
Look at this guy.
Right?
Look at this.
That's
awesome.
great.
So this technology is called Z-Space, and it will
Z-Space.
Z-Space. It will take a 3D image that's in the screen. Now, 3D CAD, like we know, it's cool because it's 3D, but this is actually 3D that's 3D because it comes out of the screen, almost like a hologram. Like you feel like you can touch it.
Well, we could talk about there's so much more to talk about, but we were running out of time. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for
having us.
All right, and so you can check out Monty Tech's website and Leominster CTI website. And AET Labs has
AET
some great
Labs.
opportunities for technical opportunities here
Sure.
with Mark. Thank you so much for watching at home, watching Discussing Fitchburg Now. We will see you next time. Thanks. Perfect.
Look at you.